Good. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the interagency briefing for air charter best practices. Glad you guys could join us today. And with us, we have Morgan Desmond. Say hey, Morgan.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today.
Yeah, absolutely. We're glad that you're here. I'm Dave Lowe. I'm the briefing host. And we appreciate everybody that's decided to join us today. We have folks from Department of State. We have CDC and DHS. Justice, there's folks from all over the place, some special forces. That was an interesting one. You have to tell some of your stories for them that we can't tell anybody else where it really was, but you can tell some of your stories.
Sure. Happy to.
A quick disclaimer, this event is not affiliated or endorsed by the Department of Transportation or any other agency, and it's provided to you, the audience, for informational purposes only. And all participation by the government folks here is not an indication or endorsement or commitment to purchase anything from anybody. So we have to do that just to make it all legal and everything. As far as briefing controls, if you have any questions, open up the panel on the right-hand side and you can put those in. You can send them over to us via text, or you can raise your hand. There's a little hand thing with the arrow. And if you called in on the phone, make sure you use your audio pin, and that's the number. It's not 13, but it's right there where it says audio pin, and then just pound that number and pound again, and then we can unmute you so we can create some dialogue. If you have any questions that are a little bit more sensitive, or you just want to talk to Desmond or us directly, support at govbrief.us, and you also have govsupport at privatejetconsulting.com. You can reach us throughout the presentation. And if you like the way that Desmond looks out there in Denver, you can make him bigger or you can make him disappear altogether. You have this little bar. Excuse me. Excuse me. It could be on the bottom or the top, but you can drag that and make us larger. And yes, that is a Jack Bauer signed poster behind me. Somebody called me out last week with that. That was kind of funny. That's a 24 poster. So with that, just the agenda for this, give you some introductions on why Morgan is here and how air charter works in the federal space for certain, some of the issues that agencies face, as well as best practices, and get to some of your questions and hopefully give you some answers, right, Morgan?
Absolutely.
And protecting your agency and some procurement options. So let me know why you are here today. 1 second. I'll open this up. Where are my polls here? There we go. I'm getting there, I promise. I'm here because I've never handled, well, that's not typed right, but that's supposed to be handled charter logistics, but may have a need. I handled charter logistics for my agency, or my boss made me come. At least somebody's got to pick that one. So, but I appreciate you guys letting us know about that. And with that, we'll give you another 5, 4, 3, 2, and there we go. So this is what it looks like. Never handled charter logistics, and some have. How you like that, Desmond? Very good.
It's phenomenal.
So we have some folks there. So tell us a little bit about private jet consulting. There's a lot of things. You've done a lot of work for the federal government, but you can't tell us about any of those.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
That is correct.
But tell us about you guys. What do you got cooking out there?
So as you had mentioned, we are based out of Denver. The business itself is veteran-owned, with myself being the veteran. I'm an 8-year Air Force veteran. My educational background is in aviation and aeronautical science. We have a very extensive experience with federal clients, and even down to the state and local levels. And in addition to that, what runs tantamount to federal clients as well are our private military corporations that we work with worldwide. Mm-hmm. We do have 100% mission success. We've never had issues ever with delivering an aircraft and maintaining hands-on operational control throughout the flight or the mission.
That is fantastic. And what does it mean to be DoD credentialed? What does that mean?
Essentially, once we have a client that is with the Department of Defense or one of the various entities there, we are able to pass a background check to on a per mission basis to work with those folks, just dealing with sensitive information, flight plans, things along those lines.
And that's important, I suppose, for what's happening out there. A lot of things you do. A lot of people, you mentioned the folks that serve DoD, special forces and such. Very interesting world. You can tell us a little bit. You can't give a lot of details, but you can tell some stories in a little bit. You promise? Absolutely.
My pleasure.
Fantastic. So, have you ever chartered air transportation before? It's a yes or no. This one's real easy. So let us know what you think. And no surprise there. It looks like we have the same people answering the questions. And another 5, 4, 3, 2, and boom. So let's take a look here. There it is. Third, 2/3 and a third. Awesome. So there you. Well, thanks for participating so fast, everybody. That was awesome. So just to give you an idea of this, so tell us about what air charter is, because a lot of folks, for the folks that have never done it before, right? They know what it is because they see rich people flying around all over the place. But what does it mean in the government world?
With our government clients, it's useful to provide what we refer to as supplemental lift. So when we have clients with the federal government that are operating government-owned assets and aircraft, if those aircraft are not available for their specific needs, then they would step outside of that realm into the private sector for air charter. Mm-hmm. In air charter, in our model, there's zero commitment, there's no jet card, there's no membership. Our clients basically tell us what they need. We utilize more of a consultative approach than a salesy type approach. And if the client's needs are not in line with what we provide for reserving an aircraft exclusively, we're certainly happy to point them in the right direction to just pay for perhaps a scheduled flight. For our model for domestic and international missions and operations, it is unscheduled. It's per the client's time frame, on demand. We charter everything from helicopters to turboprop, and then of course jet aircraft. We also utilize air ambulance. And again, under all of these models, it is just a one-off, no commitment type of operation. So our repeat clients really like that a lot. We're not looking for any money up front, as I mentioned, for membership dues or direct operating costs for the aircraft. There's just one price, and it's backed up by 2 additional aircraft in the event that the primary is unable to complete the mission due to mechanical issues. So we do have a level of redundancy there. But to answer your question, Dave, our air charter operations with private jet consulting are very much so tailored to each individual mission. It's not the type of process where we qualify a client for a specific mission, give them a cost, they pay for it, and we're done. We're with the client 24/7. We begin flight monitoring operations 24 hours prior to initial departure. We work very closely with the pilots, and then all of the logistics throughout, such as ground transportation, catering, are all handled in-house at zero markup. We do not disengage from a client until they are back on the ground at their final destination, and everybody's safe, happy, good to go.
Nice. What is a PMC?
Private Military Corporation.
Ah, gotcha. You mentioned that earlier.
We
Just
do.
making sure. There's acronyms I don't always know, and some people don't either, so that's good to know.
Sure.
So tell us about these government mandates, because there's just earlier this year, February 14th, we had Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day from Department of Transportation, apparently. So tell us about DOT 14 code part 295. What is that? Because that got some attention.
Transportation 14 code part 295 is something that has been pushed forward in the marketplace, most predominantly from folks like myself. The private jet broker industry has been somewhat free and loose to some degree. So the Part 295 requirements, initially there was some pushback from brokers, but all it does is force the industry to maintain a level of transparency that private jet consulting has been utilizing since its inception. The biggest takeaway from this as it relates to the general public is brokers or consultants such as myself cannot represent ourselves as aircraft owners, operators, or anything to that regard. We must disclose that we are a broker, we are a consultant, and we must provide all names of all parties involved. So if you, as my client, Dave, were to charter a jet from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, let's say we settled on an aircraft from Jet Suite, for example, I would have to let you know this aircraft is being offered by Jet Suite. These are all the third-party fees. It requires us to maintain a level of integrity in that we're simply doing what we say, we're saying what we do, but we're backing it up with documentation. So that's the Part 295 government mandate in a nutshell.
Nice. And protecting them from unfair and deceptive practices, obviously there's
Absolutely.
you have
Absolutely.
some in every instance. We're actually doing a briefing later this week on gray market products. So we see this across the board with really just about every industry, is making sure that they're getting what they're paying for, right? That's the idea.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They understand. So some of the challenges that you have, obviously not every mission runs as smoothly as you would anticipate. You have a 100% track record though. So you look at mission failures, what happens with the failures? Why are they coming to you as opposed to and what are you fulfilling to be able to help with that? What are some of the challenges?
Well, there's going back to the naming of our company, we wanted to make it very clear that we were consultants first, salespeople second, and you know, along with that first point, also having a strong background in aviation, being able to anticipate some of the breakdowns there. The biggest component to the entire operation is just simply the human factor. If there's we utilize triple redundancy with all documents as it relates to our flights or our missions. In the event that there's a change of private jet terminal or FBO departure points, any sort of change like that, it has to be communicated immediately via text.
And that's where you have a whole bunch of problems with the communication alone. Exactly. I mean, that's the top thing, is communication breakdown, because there's so many different moving parts, right?
That's correct.
Then you mentioned equipment, and nothing you can do about weather, right? I mean, you just have to deal with what weather.
The equipment, we can certainly maintain a level of control over, in that we don't utilize aircraft that are older than 20 years old. We ensure that the aircraft operator has a solid track record with maintenance as well. So by the time the equipment or the aircraft are delivered to the private jet terminal to pick up our clients, we've already pre-screened the crew, the aircraft, the operator, maintenance, any sort of safety issues. And we do that through an organization called Argus, which is the Aviation Research Group of the United States. They work very similar to another entity called Wyvern. And so those two entities ensure that the crew have the correct licensing, the correct amount of legal flight time to operate that aircraft. The equipment is up to par as far as maintenance. There are no incidents, accidents, etc. So the equipment we do have quite a bit of control over. And although the weather is not something that we can control, we certainly can get a pretty good snapshot of what it's going to look like.
Right.
So myself, as a certified meteorologist, we work with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to patch into their aviation digital database service, which a lot of times is quite a bit more accurate than what you would get simply from weather.com, for example.
So you're not only a pilot, you're also a meteorologist?
Yes, that's correct. That's
classic overachiever there, man.
Thank you.
So, and then you are a broker, but one of the challenges with dealing with brokers is the boiler room environment. If you haven't seen the movie, that's the kind of thing that Ben Affleck and the rest of the crew, bait and switch, overpromise. I mean, that's your classic bad salespeople that you wind up seeing in the broker world, right?
Absolutely. And within the broker environment, there are entities who own and operate aircraft that are, very much so have my endorsement.
Sure.
Warren Buffett's NetJets company is phenomenal. And in our environment as a consultant, we want to get a good snapshot of what our client's currently using and what the need is for utilizing our services in providing supplemental lift. And the environment that we do it in is calm, relaxed, zero pressure. If it works for the client, it works for us. If it doesn't work for the client, we will absolutely do our best to steer them in the right direction, which means handing them off to a competitor. But if it's a better fit for them, for that mission, at the end of the day, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Owning and controlling the company, we certainly don't have the room or the bandwidth for aggressive salespeople, boiler room type environments where folks inevitably can be tempted to push the bait and switch initiative, where a lot of times that doesn't happen necessarily in a one-off charter broker environment like private jet consulting, because we have the one mission, that's what the client pays for, that's what we deliver. But in general public perception, some of the no-name brokers out there very much so are strictly tunnel vision on just making the sale and moving on to the next client. We certainly do not operate like that. In our industry, word of mouth is everything.
And your operator, they're, because they have their own equipment, they're focused on getting their equipment out there. And like you said here, limited personnel. So that kind of restricts their ability to serve, where a broker has the ability to do multiple things. So tell us, you mentioned the consultancy model. One of the things that I like the best is just the, one throat to choke, right? So if there's anything that's going wrong, you are on the hook, right?
Absolutely. And we encompass all modes of communication to ensure that any information we're trying to get to the client during a real-time mission, it's going to come through via phone call, email, and text. So we ensure that somebody is getting our message, if there's any issues with the aircraft. So all communication goes through us. The transparency that we maintain there is ensuring that the client has images of the aircraft, they know what to expect, there's no hidden fees, and if something should go wrong with a mission, we will ensure that in terms of our accountability, we make it right. And we have had life happens type issues with clients where something has gone south medically,
right,
for example, and we have to reroute aircraft from an operator. So at the end of the day, even if we end up taking a loss on it, we ensure that we have 100% mission accountability.
And that's key, because especially in this environment, right?
Absolutely.
And you mentioned before, you mentioned triple redundancy. What does that mean?
Starting in the physical world, for that, when we essentially close a deal, so to speak, with a client, and we deliver a specific type of aircraft, let's say that the client selected a Citation Sovereign, for example, at X price. In the background, we have 2 additional backup aircraft that are identical, with 2 additional sets of crew members, a pilot and a co-pilot, that ensure the same level of expertise, safety, etc., even if we don't need to utilize them.
And why is that important?
There can be mechanical issues would be the first and foremost reason. If we have an aircraft slated to pick up a client, we ensure that the aircraft is there at least 1 hour prior to the client's scheduled arrival time. Anything, any issues, any electrical gremlins, what have you with the aircraft, we don't take any chances. So if everything is not green lighted across the board, so to speak, in the cockpit, we replace the aircraft with an identical aircraft.
And that's fantastic, because to your point, that's what gets you to 100% mission success, right? Is the ability to have that. So tell us a story about you mentioned before. There's two stories I remember. One, you tossed over the fence because it didn't fit into your world because of a San Francisco to LA trip or something.
Correct. That would be a good example. I have a client out of the Midwest that has expanded their operations to the West Coast. They're doing phenomenally with their business, and they have a need for key personnel on a every other day basis to fly from Los Angeles to either San Diego or San Francisco. And in looking at the frequency and in looking at their mission specifics for these operations, financially, it just doesn't make sense for them to charter an entire aircraft to move 2 people 4 to 5 times a week. When knowing full well through market research, there is an entity called Surfair, and they are scheduled, but it is on a Swiss-made Pilatus PC-12 turboprop aircraft, which is one of the most reliable in the industry. Mm-hmm. So in looking at the pricing for this client, they would most likely be paying about $50,000 a week to do these sets of trips with this level of frequency. Whereas an entity that does scheduled private charter type operations already exists at a cost that would be 1/10 of that. And so in that situation, we're more than happy to say, hey, have you heard of these folks? And we have no connection with them. We don't refer folks out to an aircraft operator directly and then get some sort of kickback. Right. For us, it's just the integrity model of just saying, I know something else is out there that will save you money. It will provide the same similar experience. At least be aware of this. And so we're certainly happy to put that out there.
And that just points to the integrity piece. So tell us about one hypothetical about if you had to transport somebody that was very sensitive to another country, and you had to be in and out. I think you've told me some of those stories in the past.
We certainly have, and we have folks that may need to move out of country quick, fast, and in a hurry. So on our end, what we do is ensure that we have all the proper documents, the proper visas, all the proper paperwork up to and including inoculations to get into Middle East, North Africa areas. We take care of all that on the back end, so well prior to any sort of departure, so that by the time the clients show up, they have their passports on them, they have their luggage, and they're good to go.
That's awesome. That goes back to the Jack Bauer poster.
There you go.
There you go. All right. Well, that's awesome. So when do you expect a charter requirement? That is the question of the day. So let us know where we are, but we will we'll make sure that we get the information to you, so you can get what you need, and we'll get you out of here. So with that, another 2, 1, we got everybody. Don't even need it 2 seconds. 100% aren't sure, but that's okay, right? Because at least we know what's happening out there. All right, we're going to get to your questions now. Let me grab my glasses here, and I'll be able to see what we got. Let's see. So are you a broker or operator? You're a broker, right?
That is correct. We are a broker. We do not own, maintain, or operate any aircraft. The advantage for us in that capacity is that we truly have global reach, in that we can piece together a mission based on parameters and requirements a little bit more effectively than someone that's beholden to a specific fleet. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and so it does, and it actually goes to the next one. I'm new to this. What is the difference between a broker and an operator?
The
I think
difference between, and that's a great question. A broker like myself does not own or operate any aircraft. The primary objective for a broker is to work with an aircraft operator to fulfill a client's needs. Again, the advantage there is if we have 6 similar aircraft for a client, all coming in at the same price, all coming in at the same specifications, etc., we can select the top 3. So that might encompass 3 different aircraft operators. So as a broker, we have more flexibility and more reach, real time, 24/7, than we would if we were operating aircraft and attempting to maintain adherence to certain rules and requirements, etc.
that makes good sense. And so the next question is, what equipment are you in with this picture?
That is a Dassault Falcon 900.
All right. I don't know what that means, but that's great. It sounds expensive.
It is.
So if you have any more questions, you can send them to support@govbrief.us or govsupport@privatejetconsulting.com. And how can we help people make sure that they're staying out of hot water so that they do minimize their risk, especially in being able to deliver on a regular basis and get people where they need to go?
I would say that, in order to minimize risk for our clients, we have a very extensive quoting system that we use that it shows every possible detail of the flight and any possible, if it's an airport that we're familiar with that requires a after hours landing fee, for example, we'll know that ahead of time. And the biggest thing with staying out of hot water is I've seen time and time again clients that just are looking for a no obligation, one-off mission flight type trip, in that they've been burned by an entity that sells jet cards, where they essentially take quite a bit of money on and then put it on account and debit out of that account with basically whatever they want, anything marked up. That's not to say that jet cards are not extremely useful with some of the bigger entities out there like NetJets or JetLinks, etc. But the best answer that I would have as far as minimizing risk is the financial component of the transaction should be the very least of concern to the broker that you're working with. If it's a high pressure sale, walk away. If there's not 24/7 flight operations and monitoring with that broker, walk away. And that in ensuring the credentials are up to par for the broker, we will forward reports on the aircraft and the crew that are valid within 24 hours of departure, showing our aircraft operators' credentials. Everyone's legal to fly. The aircraft is legal to operate. All the maintenance is up to par. And I would say, if possible, engage a firm that is run by pilots, or at least folks that have a strong understanding of aviation and aerospace.
And I think that makes good sense. You throw in the whole meteorologist thing, man. That's
sure. Yeah, that's something as well.
That's an extra bonus from you guys. But so triple redundancy, you mentioned it before, 3 crews, 3 aircraft, and 3 contingency plans, and that will make sure that you got yourself covered all the way around. And always, always, always check your references.
Absolutely.
Anytime you're dealing with this, very good idea to do that. And so you guys are a small business. You're based in Denver.
Yes.
If they want to buy directly from you, they can. The DUNS number's there, the cage code. And then if there's a particular set aside, either or vehicle, GSA, service disabled, woman owned, you guys have partners that you can plug them into. and
Certainly.
and make it easy for them to buy from you, right?
Certainly.
Excellent. Well, so quick follow. You will get a follow up, and that'll include the presentation, the Q&A. We'll put in those. If you have any additional questions, that'll be included as well. The supporting documents, including the Department of Transportation information. We'll get you some private jet consulting capabilities as well as procurement options for you. And other than that, we really appreciate you guys joining us. Morgan, you are a rock star when it comes to this. I want to steal your identity and fly your jets.
Be my pleasure.
That's awesome. So if you need to reach out to Morgan, his information is right there. 833-JET-8822. We'll get right to you, correcto?
That is correct. And thank you to everyone who attended today. It's certainly been a pleasure to be able to put forward our message.
Absolutely. And we appreciate you guys being here. Thanks. And we'll see you next time. If you need anything from Morgan, reach out to him. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, everyone.